This week on Chicago Newsroom 2.0, Sufyan Sohel, Swathi Staley, and Claude Robinson joined the roundtable to discuss the president, ICE, and the game of chicken surrounding the Chicago Bears' search for a new home.
Center for Better Aging's Estrelitta Harmon is here to discuss the state of aging in Chicago.
Center on Cottage Grove's Betty Atkins joins the newsroom to talk about the center's powerful photo exhibition documenting the 1919 Chicago race riots.
Inspector General Deborah Witzberg and Chief Joy Correspondent Hasani Olujimi return with fresh installments of Inside Oversight and Good News News. I'm Jeffery Beckham.
I'm Dee Atkins. We've put together an incredible hour of local news and information that matters most to Chicagoans.
And it all starts right now. This week on the Roundtable, 3 stories that, taken together, raise urgent questions about power, accountability, and whose interests are being served. From immigration enforcement and public health to high-stakes negotiations over the future of professional sports in Chicago. First, Chicago and the state of Illinois are taking the federal government to court, suing the Donald Trump administration over its immigration policies and enforcement actions. Second, the Trump administration is announcing sweeping cuts to federal health care programs, only to quickly walk them back, while simultaneously threatening to withhold federal funding from sanctuary cities like Chicago. And finally, the long-running standoff over the future of the Chicago Bears shows no signs of ending. Arlington Heights is increasing pressure on the state of Illinois, while Indiana rolls out what some are calling a welcome wagon. Joining me to unpack it all are Roundtable regulars, Sufyan Sohel, chair of the Cook County Commission on Human Rights, Swathi Staley, partner with Just Act Partners, and Claude Robinson, president of Onyx Strategies. Welcome back, friends.
Nice to
Let's
be here.
get into it.
Let's go.
So, a lot going on today, and it's really great to see you all. Let's start and dive into talking a little bit about immigration. When a protester shot in the head at point-blank range by an ICE agent and left legally blind, what does accountability look like, and who has jurisdiction? What federal agents cause life-altering harm in communities? What do we do?
I believe, and I don't think I'm alone in this, that our ICE agents feel so empowered to do anything and everything that they choose that they can get away with. Mm-hmm. Right? They feel fully empowered by the federal government, by the president, to take any and all action, and they feel like they're completely immune to any and all prosecution. Yeah. I remember last year in Minnesota, there was an ICE agent who was caught in either child pornography or pursuing a minor, and the first thing he did when police officers arrested him were, I'm an ICE agent. Yeah. You know, thinking that that's like a get out of jail free card, get out of any sort of prosecution. So there needs to be systems in place where they're held accountable. Mm-hmm. Last week, Swathi walked us through the laws of what the use of force looks like for DHS officers, and they are violating it over and over and over again, and no one's holding them accountable. So I applaud the city and the state for taking them to court, and now it's the judicial branch's job to enforce the rules in place.
But remember, before they came into DC, the president of the United States said boldly to the nation that these guys are coming and they could do whatever they want to do. Yeah. And it's going to be rough. He said this is going to happen, and then here we've seen what's happened. They feel like they can do, because you have Stephen Miller and others telling them that they're immune from any prosecution. So imagine if you're already filled with hate, and then you're told that you can go in and do whatever you want to get these people out of here. They're not going to pay attention to whatever laws are there. They're going to try and break them. And in actuality, the administration is trying to break the rule of law, mm-hmm. so it doesn't apply to them, but it'll apply to people that look like us.
Yeah.
What I will also say is that, you know, what we've seen since the start of the Trump administration has been the politicization of the Justice Department as well. And so what we are seeing is a lack of accountability and a lack of prosecution of crimes that are caught on camera.
Right.
So what unfortunately, what I think will end up happening is that there will likely be a delay in prosecution of these violent crimes, like shooting someone in the head with a less lethal bullet that has left this person legally blind. Unfortunately, if we're seeking justice immediately, I don't think it's going to happen. The reality is that I think we're going to see, future administrations have to clean up a lot of the mess that's happening under this administration. But the reality is that justice delayed is still justice denied, and so we need to ensure that we're still putting our foot on the gas when it comes to prosecuting and actually filing suit to maintain our rights to be able to continue to pursue legal pursuit of holding this administration accountable.
Stand right there, Swathi. The state and the city are suing the administration over immigration enforcement, but we know lawsuits take time, right? Mm-hmm. And as we are thinking about this, what are some immediate protections, if any, that exist right now for residents on the ground?
Well, I will continue to say that we have community members who are continuing to document what's happening in real time to preserve evidence. There's initiatives like Mayor Lightfoot's ICE Accountability Project, the Office of Public Accountability that Governor Pritzker has started. So the reality is that there are opportunities for community members to come together and preserve evidence that will likely be part of lawsuits down the road. And what I can say is that having an Attorney General in the state of Illinois who is continuing to pursue legal actions that are effective, and to have the judiciary that are still responsive to these actions, like Judge Sarah Ellis, who has been quite responsive and very thorough in her methodology and her assessment of the legal merit of these suits, is necessary. And so what I hope is that community members don't face the fear of, or don't live up to the fear of not continuing to document what's happening on the ground, and that we continue to have, legislators and attorneys who are willing to file suit to preserve our rights to continue to seek justice.
And while that's happening, the other context to realize that these folks are trying to crush Chicago, and we're playing by the rules, and they're not abiding by the rules. And they want this land, and they want to occupy the people that are here. So we should keep that context in mind. A lot of people seem to think it's not real, and these dudes are coming.
Yeah, Sufyan, if states and cities lose these lawsuits, what precedent does that set for future federal overreach, not just on immigration, but thinking about human rights and on local governance more broadly?
It's giving broader powers to the federal government, to the point where it's also taking away powers traditionally given to states. And what we're also seeing is a police state, where the president has, the same president, to your point earlier, who's been on record saying, I could shoot someone and not be prosecuted for it, right? Yeah. And who thinks he can get away with absolutely anything. And basically giving him unlimited authority over the way things are done and how people are treated in this country. But I think to a larger point, to your question that you posed to Swathi also, I had a cousin reach out this morning. She lives in California, San Diego, and said, hey, I'm afraid to send my kids. She's South Asian, natural. Her children were all born in the United States. I'm afraid to send them to school. What should I do? And I said, keep living your lives also, right?
Yeah.
Like show up for one another. Oftentimes, our marginalized communities are pitted against one another. We have a contest to see who's suffering the most, and it's when we see dehumanization of any community, we got to show up for them no matter what. And if we open the door to allow this sort of treatment to happen to one, it could happen to anybody. And that's why it's so important for us to speak out, show up, not fully trust our legal systems to take action, because what we're seeing is we're allowing these things. We've seen over the last 2 years how they've had trial runs of different policies and actions, whether it be student protesters to immigration rates, let's see what we can get away with. And we normalize it. And then the bar gets lowered and lowered and lowered. And we're like, oh, it can't get worse than this. It can't get worse than this, but it can. And I think we're just seeing the beginning of a lot of things. And if we don't all collectively show up and stand up, like, we're going to see a very, very different America tomorrow.
You know, we can question whether or not that's intentional. Is that gross incompetence, or is that chaos by design? You know, we've seen healthcare cuts recently announced and rescinded while sanctuary cities were simultaneously threatened with funding losses. Is this policy confusion, or is this deliberate strategy to create fear and compliance through instability?
I'll take this one. It's absolutely intended to destabilize. What we have seen over and over again since the beginning of this administration is the implementation of bad policy and then rescission of that policy, simply to scare people and distract from what's happening on the ground. And so the reality is that this move to defund a number of Illinois nonprofits with grants that were authorized by Congress is absolutely intended to cause fear, cause distraction, and ultimately the people who are harmed are residents of Illinois. It's absolutely heartbreaking, but we've seen this time and time again. It's not intended to be rolled out as a well thought out action. It is intended to destabilize and then retract and cause chaos and seed chaos. And it's intended to be a message from the federal government that that they have the control to be able to do this. But the reality is that these actions are unlawful. And so we do have to continue to push back, especially the nonprofit sector that's doing so much to hold up our communities right now with very little help from the federal government.
The strategy of flooding the zone that they are utilizing to have people just wondering what's next and stressed out about everything. I had 2 clients who are in the behavioral health space that called as soon as they got the letter and was like, what the fuck, what is this? And helped them say, just stabilize. There'll be folks that are looking to push this back, and then automatically the next couple of days, advocacy wins.
I mean, just the amount of shit that's come through in the last 2-3 weeks. No one's talking about the Epstein files anymore. No one's talking about things that happened a couple of weeks ago because yesterday just brings a new challenge, a new development, a new issue. And it's how do we create confusion while still, what are they really trying to do? What are they trying to shift our focus away from while they keep hurting the most vulnerable in our communities?
At what point does the threats to federal funding, threats to programs that are helping the community, come across as not just hardball, but really works at undermining the democratic norms and local governance itself?
I mean, it's already happening. I mean, we're facing a time where, the amount of bullshit that's being thrown at us is intended to distract from the reality of what's happening. We're not talking about the Epstein files. All of a sudden, we've stopped talking about the invasion of Venezuela and the destabilization of another country, a sovereign nation, to talk about Greenland. I mean, we are playing ping pong in 4D with the amount of nonsense that's being thrown at us, and that is intentional. It is absolutely intended to be a distraction from the last terrible thing that this administration did, so we can focus on the next one. But the reality is that we have a lot of really good people who are continuing to fight the fight, and we have to keep our eye on a number of balls in the air right now in order to make sure that our basic democratic principles are not eroded to the point that we lose them.
Great topic, great conversation. We're going to keep this going, and this is the place to have this dialogue. But let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about our Bears coming off an amazing season, right? Great season, sad loss, but great season. But let's talk a little bit about the stadium and what's happening between Arlington and Indiana. Is this really about where the Bears play football, or is it about who holds leverage over taxpayers, public land, and state resources?
It's been a while since this conversation has been going on. Remember, Chicago rolled out this wonderful plan for Soldier Field, and I think there were some mistakes made in the approach thinking that they did not have to engage with other decision makers.
Yeah.
And found out, is that that's FAFO, that you do have to have a collaborative approach in business. You just can't come in and think, this is how I'm going to do something. So when it originally happened, there was not enough dialogue between state leaders and those developers that were looking at making this happen. So for me, and I think for many others, at this point, the governor has warmed a little bit more, the speaker, to the conversation here. But the reality is who benefits from this the most? Who's going to pay the most?
Right.
And then ultimately, where will groups like the Chicago Sports Commission come along and have more than just one emphasis on how to make sure that communities here in Chicago, those that have been disinvested in, are in this equation in a real way?
Yeah, that's a great question. And everyone here, Chicago residents. So if Illinois is being pressured to offer major public investments and incentives, what guarantees should taxpayers demand in return? Like, are those guarantees even enforceable?
No, I don't think so. And I think we still owe over $800 million for the amazing renovations last done on Soldier Field, Spaceship. And I think when I see the energy of the Chicago sports. We have the Blue Cross Blue Shield building, have Go Bears up.
Yeah.
People are excited. My brother-in-law flew in from Seattle to watch both playoff games, and there's so much love and heart. And that's what they tug on, right? To get the people to go watch 8 games a year at a stadium that they want to spend $1 billion plus to build.
Right.
But who's going to end up paying for it? And I think they're not thinking, they think the emotional love is going to outweigh the financial cost of it.
See, I'm on the other side. I'm on the other side of the aisle on that, in the sense that I think that there is so much economic vitality that comes from having a winning team, for sure.
Sure.
But the reality is that I think you named a couple of the things that is encouraged, right? The tourism around Chicago, the economic vitality of hotel stays, things like that really do create a huge buzz. And I do think that there is a sense of community that happens as a result of a team that stays stays hopefully in Chicago. That's my personal hope, even though definitely in Illinois. I don't think that the Gary proposal is a serious one. I think that there's very little traction, I think, for Bears fans and for the organization to actually consider a serious move to Indiana. Obviously, the tax benefits are there, but the reality is that this is a hometown team. This is a team that belongs in Illinois at a minimum, if not Chicago. So I do think that, to Claude's earlier point about the initial missteps that the Bears organization made by not communicating with the governor, I think that's thawing a little bit. Yep. A lot of wins helps. So, Coach Ben Johnson has done a good job with Caleb Williams to bring us home a winning season after a long time to then start this conversation. But this is a team that means a lot to this city. Yeah. And I think that while it is a very expensive proposition, I don't disagree with that. I think that there does need to be some conversation that needs to happen to keep the Bears in Chicago. And I think those conversations are going to start, and I'm sure we're going to continue to talk about them at this roundtable. To
Kevin Warren, the rest, communicate the benefits to Black and brown communities, and y'all might get some wins.
Ultimately, the city loses if the Bears leave, right? I mean,
I agree.
Cook, not out of the state, right? Even if they're in Arlington, they're still in Cook County, it still benefits Chicago. We got to keep the Bears home. Yeah. So thank you for your time. This was amazing, tough topics, but as always, we love having you here.
Thanks for having us.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Yes.
On the other side of the break, Dee sits one-on-one with Center for Aging's Executive Director, Estrelitta Harmon, discussing the state of aging in Chicago. Stay with us.
I am Dr. Obari Cartman, inviting you to join us for an all-new episode of Brothers Talking, when the brothers and I discuss Black men and toxic masculinity. The brothers and I look forward to seeing you at 7 p.m. exclusively on CAN TV, cable channel 19, streaming on cantv.org and on the CAN TV Plus app. Experience the power of community television.
They say television is about sitting back. We say it's about stepping up. Your block has stories worth telling. Your neighbors have voices worth hearing. Chicago has a heartbeat worth sharing. Stop watching their world. Start showing yours. It's time to tune in and be seen. CAN TV, always here, always yours. Experience the power of community television.
As Chicago's population continues to age, one of the most pressing questions facing our city is how we ensure that older adults are not just living longer, but living better, healthier, and more connected lives. Our next guest is helping to lead that work. Estrelitta Harmon is the executive director of the Center for Better Aging, an organization dedicated to advancing health, dignity, and equity for older adults, particularly those in communities that have been often overlooked or under-resourced. Estrelitta, welcome to the newsroom.
Thank you so much.
Let's jump right into our questions. For the viewers who might not be familiar with the Center for Better Aging, can you just walk us through the organization's mission and what does aging with dignity and equity exactly look like?
Yes, thank you so much for having me today. So the Center for Better Aging is a nonprofit organization that was created to lead the design of a new ecosystem for care on the south side of Chicago. And we are missioned to really revamp how aging is defined on the south side through a whole person care model. And what that looks like in real life is actually working with a collaborative of partners to come together to really understand what it means to age in Chicago, but then solution for it. So we're not just putting Band-Aids on things here and there. We're really working together to support and surround aging adults on the south side of Chicago. We serve a 22 zip code area, 50 and older, because we know that 65 is just too late to really prevent some of the ailments that we're seeing on the south side. And so we're really excited to come together to redefine aging in a way that is truly unique. And when we speak of aging with dignity, one of the things that we really want to see through the Center for Better Aging is people being treated with respect, but also feeling that their concerns are heard and also that they have support at every stage of their life. So whatever it may be that is important to them, what matters to them matters to us. And so we're surrounding them with a model that is truly respectful of their needs, their wishes, their family, and all the things that will help them age with grace.
What a wonderful mission. Can you tell me what are some of the key programs or even maybe some of the initiatives that you do, particularly those around physical health, mental wellness, and social connection? And really, how do they improve the day-to-day life of older adults?
Yes, so our focus really is to support the day-to-day. What matters to you each and every day when you wake up is what matters to us. And so that looks like health care, but that also looks like all the other things that matter outside of the four walls of the hospital, right? Like transportation, programming to reduce social isolation, and sometimes that's just having fun, getting out of your home in a safe way, in an environment where you know you are supported and cared for. But that also looks like programming to really address all the other things that impact our well-being, like stress, like food access and diet, right? Like smoking cessation and all the other social supports that we know do impact our well-being and the longevity of our lives.
Thank you. And we know that aging doesn't look the same across communities. So can you tell me what are some of the challenges that older adults in some of those under-resourced neighborhoods face that often go either unseen or even unaddressed?
Yeah, so, existing is already hard enough, right? Living at any age is complicated. It's unique to each individual. What we see complicating that, though, making that more difficult for older adults, is navigating regular life, right? Transportation, work, access to food, healthcare, compounded with the fact that they are also aging and maybe living in communities where access to healthcare or nutrition may not be accessible, right? Or there may be barriers to actually improving their health because of lack of access to education or the support systems needed to really thrive in that way. And so really we're balancing day-to-day matters, the things that are just keeping people healthy and mentally well, with understanding that aging bodies do compound, kind of health issues, cognitive decline, reduced social engagement, and all of those things that we just are already encountering as we age just normally. And so we're balancing that need for social support and well-being, but also meeting them where they are in their aging journey.
Thank you. And I hear that you're co-hosting an upcoming special called The State of Aging, a community conversation, and it'll be airing right here on CAN TV. So tell me, what prompted this forum and what kind of voices and perspectives will be part of that discussion?
Yes, thank you for the question. We are so excited to host this first ever State of Aging conversation. And as I mentioned, we are designing a new ecosystem for care, but none of that matters if it isn't in conversation with the community that we are looking to care for. And so this is the first of many conversations of this scale, where we are really looking to bring in our experts, the doctors, the thought leaders who are actually navigating, creating systems like this and leading the solutions in the city of Chicago and beyond, but also connecting them with the community and hearing what matters to them, what questions they may have, and together work towards a solution that really is with them in mind and informed by their thoughts and opinions.
Well, that does sound exciting. And this isn't just a talk. It's meant to lead to action. So tell me, what do you hope the policymakers, providers, even community members, what do you hope everyone walks away with after this state special?
Oh, so many things. For those who are attending, for those who are watching, the community members who, by the grace of God, are aging, right? I hope that they feel validated, but also encouraged, that there are people who are thinking every single day about solutions, both at the individual and the community level, to really support our aging community. And the numbers are there. We know that there's an increasing number of older adults that we'll see over the next decade. And so I hope that there's a level of just excitement about the work that is being done to really come together in a holistic way to support aging in Chicago. And for others who are there, the business leaders, the thought leaders, the policymakers, I really hope that they walk away energized and trying to figure out how they can plug in to this work. Our collaborative is always looking to grow and expand, because we know that we can't change whole person care alone. We can't wrap around all of the services that a single individual needs alone. And that does require policymakers, that does require community-based organizations, it requires government. And so bringing all those key decision makers together into a room with the community, with individuals who are aging and have concerns of their own, I really just hope that everyone leaves encouraged and excited and figuring out how they can plug into the model.
So for our viewers who may be caregivers or even older adults themselves and even advocates, how can they get involved with the Center for Better Aging or maybe take part in the upcoming community conversation?
Yes, so for the community conversation, we will be hosting the event January 28th at Greenwood Oasis, and we're excited to have a space that can welcome everyone, right? So come out and join us in person. And we encourage people to stay connected with the Center for Better Aging at centerforbetteraging.org, where we have a host of resources, and we really are the convener. We're looking to really bring all the resources that aging adults and their caregivers need into a single place. And that does also mean a lot of support for caregivers. We provide programming, informational resources, and connection to many partners across the city who are ready and eager to support caregivers so that they can better support our aging adults. And beyond that, simply just asking questions, whether that's through our website or engaging through CAN-TV or others as these conversations occur, asking questions, having the conversation at the dinner table, all those things help us really keep these conversations top of mind, which can help really move the conversation and the work forward.
Well, Estrelitta, thank you for taking the time to speak directly to our audience. It's been a joy to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
Tune in to State of Aging, a community conversation right here on CAN TV, Wednesday, February 18th at 7 p.m. It's an hour of television that could change your life or the life of someone you love. On the other side of the break, Chicago Inspector General Deborah Witzberg returns with a new installment of Inside Oversight. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Dr. Norcott. On the next episode of Be Well, we'll unpack the realities of family dysfunction and how setting boundaries can be a powerful step toward healing with my guest, Dr. Neka Onyezia. Join the conversation on CAN TV, cable channel 19, or stream live on cantv.org or on the CAN TV Plus app. Elevated conversation and storytelling. Experience the power of community television.
CAN TV is the lens through which Chicago's stories are told, harnessing the unifying power of community television. With CAN TV On Demand, immerse yourself in the richness of our city through exclusive stories and programs tailored just for you, connecting you to the heartbeats of our streets, the voices of our people, and the spirit that makes Chicago unique. Discover the strength of your community on CAN TV On Demand.
Here now with a fresh installment of Inside Oversight, highlighting the critical importance of data transparency, is Chicago Inspector General Deborah Witzberg. Deborah?
The City of Chicago Office of Inspector General works to shine light into the windowless rooms in city government. With the City of Chicago operating at a deficit of legitimacy with its residents, one long in the making, we can ill afford to govern behind closed doors. Information about the government belongs to the governed. City Hall publishes some of its data on a portal, but there's a wide gap between information being theoretically publicly available and meaningfully publicly accessible, and that's where OIG steps in with our information portal to fill the gap with our collection of interactive dashboards. Promoting transparency in Chicago government is a fundamental tenet of the mission of the Office of Inspector General to promote economy, effectiveness, efficiency, and integrity by identifying corruption, waste, and mismanagement in city government. Hello, I'm Deborah Witzberg, Inspector General for the City of Chicago. OIG's transparency mandate comes to life in our information portal, where more than 40 public-facing data dashboards allow users to visualize and analyze clear and reliable information about city government. OIG's information portal is unmatched in the city for the scale and the scope of data it puts out into the light of day. OIG's information portal allows users to search for and visualize information and statistics about Chicago's government, including police and public safety operations, city employees, city finances, and city services. Each dashboard comes with a user guide overlay to help users find what they're looking for. The public safety dashboards are one example of why this matters. During budget season, media and policymakers frequently consulted and referred to our Chicago Police Department Sworn Member Overtime Summary Dashboard. Understanding where and why police officers are working overtime and how much it costs is critical to making informed decisions during a tight budget season. Another highlight of our public safety dashboards is the one showing police beat staffing information. It accompanies a public inquiry report on the topic and presents previously unavailable data, helping answer seemingly simple but fundamental questions. How many officers are on patrol, where, and when? We also have a socioeconomic comparison dashboard, which presents demographic data from the United States Census Bureau alongside information on the delivery of city services. These dashboards allow residents, researchers, and decision makers to explore patterns, where services are concentrated, where needs are greatest, and how equitably the city is serving its communities. City services by address is another popular dashboard. Users can input their address and view their ward, community area, alderperson, police district and beat, trash and recycling pickup days, whether they are in a TIF district, where the closest library is, and more. There is no other place to find this kind of information consolidated and visually presented so clearly. Behind the scenes, OIG's Center for Information Technology and Analytics centralizes and validates data from across city departments. This work benefits tremendously from the fact that OIG's jurisdiction spans all city departments. Unlike other efforts, which might report data only from a single city department at a time, we are able to combine and compare information from across the enterprise to provide users with detailed, nuanced, and in-context information. OIG's dashboards were created to make city data more meaningfully accessible, and by doing so, to make city government more transparent and accountable. That's why media, academics, community groups, and even city departments rely on the information portal as a trusted source. Information about the government belongs to the governed, and Chicago owes it to its residents to govern in the light of day. It all starts with accurate, accessible data. Find it all at igchicago.org/data. Data transparency is a fundamental responsibility of an accountable and transparent government. OIG is committed to delivering on Chicago's obligation to conduct the public's business in public. Back to you, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Inspector General Witzberg. On the other side of the break, Dee sits down with Betty Atkins from the Center on Cottage Grove to discuss a powerful photo exhibition that highlights a key period in the history of the Black experience here in Chicago. Stay with us.
Portage Park on the northwest side of Chicago is famous for its vintage charm, heaps of history, and bustling shopping. Hi, I'm Hugo Balta. On the next episode of Sazón de Illinois, we'll visit a restaurant nestled in the Six Corners shopping district that gives this neighborhood its flavor.
For more than 40 years, CAN TV has been Chicago's voice, your voice. We've shared your stories, amplified your concerns, and celebrated your triumphs. Now we want to hear from you. What programs matter most? What issues should we cover? How can we better serve your community? Visit cantv.org/feedback today. CAN TV. Experience the power of community television.
Some moments in history are preserved through words. Others are preserved through images. Images that force us to confront who we were, how we arrived here, and what still remains unresolved. This conversation centers on a powerful and historic photo collection documenting the 1919 Chicago race riots, one of the most violent and consequential racial uprisings in the city's history. These rarely seen images capture a moment that reshaped Chicago's neighborhoods, race relations, and policies for generations to come. That collection has now found a new home at the Center on Cottage Grove, thanks to a generous donation from the DuSable Museum of African American History, ensuring that this history remains accessible, contextualized, and rooted in the community most impacted by it. Joining us to discuss the significance of this donation, the stories that these photographs tell, and why preserving this history matters right now, is Betty Atkins, Community Outreach Manager at the Center on Cottage Grove. Betty, welcome to the newsroom.
Thank you.
So Betty, for our viewers who may not fully understand the scope of the 1919 Chicago race riots, what do these photos reveal about that moment in our city's history that words alone can't tell us?
First of all, there are two specific graphics that are really important that can't be explained. One, there are two maps of the population, the Black population, moving into Chicago. One is the census of 1910, where it's a rather small population that have migrated to Chicago from the South. And then the other is a map 10 years later, the 1920 census, where the population seems to be exploding. So the way that that map is laid out, showing the city of Chicago, you could really see the difference in that happening. Also, the devastation that happened during the race riots and the effect that it had on the people who were living in the communities, you just can't put words into that.
Well, thank you for conveying that. And there's something uniquely powerful about photographs, especially from moments of racial violence. Mm-hmm. What was your personal reaction when you first saw this collection, and what do you think people will feel when they encounter those images today?
The initial feelings that I had, the first was anger, and then it was sorrow. I had anger because of the reason that that the riots happened. It was because of the killing of a young man who swam to the white side of the shore, and he was attacked. So I felt anger about that. The second part was sorrow. I felt sorrow because it was another example of Blacks not being able to contribute to the neighborhood that they just moved in, and just the loss of not having that Black culture building up the way that it should. Again, people who are trying to get a new life are running for their lives.
Thank you. And I mentioned earlier that this collection was donated by the DuSable Museum of African American History. Mm-hmm. So tell me the significance that these images are now housed at the Center on Cottage Grove, and what does that transfer represent symbolically and even at a practical level?
Well, first, I'd like to thank the DuSable Museum for gifting that donation to us. It's really important to us. And we are now the protectors and the stewards of that exhibit. This is history that is trying to be erased. And the Center on Cottage Grove, Center on Halsted are now responsible to keep that history alive and to make sure that people know that it exists, because this history is American history. And we just celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, and there would not have been the emergence of Dr. King if it were not that history, even though the history is a little ugly. The purpose of him coming around was for social justice and for African Americans in this country. So it all connects, and that needs to be there.
Well, what an honor it must be to have something so significant in your presence. Yes. How does keeping this collection within a community-based cultural space change the way that we interpret history, or the way history is taught, or even the way that we remember it, especially for us as Black Chicagoans?
Well, as Black Chicagoans, I believe that when people see the exhibit, what they take away from it is what they take away from it, how they feel about it, what they learn from it. But what is the most important thing is that it's accessible to the community. It's not in a museum, it's not in someone's private collection in a high rise. It's free. It's right there on 63rd and Cottage Grove, and anyone can come in and see it.
Okay. And now, more than a century later, unfortunately, Chicago still wrestles with segregation, racial tension, and even inequity. What connections do you see between the events of 1919 and the issues that we're grappling with today?
Well, the very first thing that that I thought of was as we were putting up the exhibit, ICE came into Chicago that same week. So I'm looking at these photos of these soldiers in the neighborhood, and then also looking at the news and seeing soldiers repelling from a helicopter. And I'm thinking to myself, what has changed? And it's just very, it can be disheartening, but also at the same time, seeing that history and seeing where the people who had to go through what they went through then and what it is that we're going through now, there's resilience in there.
Wow, that's powerful. Well, the Center on Halsted plays a unique role, certainly, in preserving Black history and culture on the South Side. Mm-hmm. How does hosting this collection align with the center's mission specifically? And what does it say about the kind of cultural institution that you aim to be?
Well, as a whole, Center on Halsted is the Midwest's largest LGBTQ community, in the third largest, I should say, community in the country. And Center on Cottage is a program satellite of that organization. So with our mission in advancing the community and the LGBTQ community, what we're doing in our community, in the Black community, is making sure that the history of Black folks in America is preserved, and also that Black LGBTQ history is preserved as well. There's a number of things that we're trying to bring into Center on Cottage Grove about LGBTQ history in that area that we would like the community to know about.
And thank you for explaining that, because I'm not sure that people would have put those two together, though the names are very, very similar. Betty, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. It was a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you.
On the other side of the break, CAN TV's Chief Joy Correspondent, Hasani Olujimi, returns with an all-new installment of Good News News. Stay with us.
I am Dr. Obari Cartman, inviting you to join us for an all-new episode of Brothers Talking, when the brothers and I discuss Black men and toxic masculinity. The brothers and I look forward to seeing you at 7 p.m. exclusively on CAN TV, cable channel 19, streaming on cantv.org and on the CAN TV Plus app. Experience the power of community television.
They say television is about sitting back. We say it's about stepping up. Your block has stories worth telling. Your neighbors have voices worth hearing. Chicago has a heartbeat worth sharing. Stop watching their world. Start showing yours. It's time to tune in and be seen. CAN TV, always here, always yours. Experience the power of community television.
In a world where good news seems increasingly harder to find, CAN TV is committed to seeking out the people and stories that demonstrate the very best of humanity. Helping us to do just that is the ever-joyful Chief Joy Correspondent, Hasani Olujimi. Hasani, what's the good news?
Hello, and welcome to Good News News. I'm your Chief Joy Correspondent, Hasani Olujimi, and I'm Gugu for Good News. The goal of this segment is to inspire and uplift you, the viewer, with nothing but, you guessed it, good news. A hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. Villains in the movies are dark and scary, but this little hero, he knows exactly how to handle the situation. Let's explore a little more.
Now, the 3-year-old being hailed a hero because he saved his great-grandmother during a medical emergency. And as Stephen Fabian reports, he knew what to do from watching his favorite TV show.
Like lots of kids, this 3-year-old is scared of the dark, but he's conquering his fears. He's on a mission to save his great-grandmother. Little Bridger Peabody was being looked after by great-grandmother Sharon Lewis, who he calls Gigi. They were at home outside Denver when she fell by the steps at the back door.
I tripped over something and fell and hit my head on the concrete step.
Covered with blood and desperate for help, the stricken 77-year-old had to call 911, but she had left her phone in her car. She realized only little Bridger could help her.
Gigi said, "Go get my phone."
Tell me what you did when Gigi said, "Go get my phone."
I went out in the dark.
Are you scared of the dark?
Yeah.
On the security camera, you can hear him trying to reassure himself. He manages to open the car. The vehicle's interior light turns on. Bridger can see the phone right there.
Yes. I did it. The light turned on, and then I can see very well.
Bridger climbs inside and grabs the cell phone. His great-grandmother is now recovering after getting 22 staples in her head. Bridger tells me he's learned how to be a brave little lad by watching his favorite TV show. Paw Patrol!
He is definitely a blessing.
I decided there was only one way to end this interview. Hey, can I give you a fist bump through the phone there, Bridger?
Yeah,
Boom.
You did it.
There's my buddy.
Wow, now isn't that good news? Remember, you are the hero of your own story. And speaking of stories, I'm sure my favorite personality has one to share with us. Little Big Mama, what do you have in store today?
Hi, Hasani. I just want to share something with you and your viewers. I was talking to my friend Ethel the other day. I said, girl, I went to a new senior citizen fitness class. She said, well, how did it go? And I told her I got in there and I got to jumping and sweating, bending and twisting and rolling around on the floor. But by the time I got my leotards on, the class was over. I know. Go take a time out. Bye, baby.
She's really the funniest person she knows. That reminds me, there's a machine at my gym. I tried it for an hour and I felt sick, but I got just what I needed. Kit Kat, Snickers, M&Ms, and peanuts. I'm okay now. Well, that's this week's Good News Report. And remember, until next time, the best way to turn a frown upside down is to get goo-goo for good news. Back to you, Jeff.
All good news indeed. Thank you, Hasani. We look forward to your return. On the other side of the break, CAN TV's Executive Director, Darius Hillman, joins us with his thoughts on a strange and revealing moment on the streets of Minneapolis. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Dr. Norcott. On the next episode of Be Well, we'll unpack the realities of family dysfunction and how setting boundaries can be a powerful step toward healing with my guest, Dr. Neka Onyezia. Join the conversation on CAN TV, Cable Channel 19, or stream live on cantv.org. or on the CAN TV Plus app. Elevated conversation and storytelling. Experience the power of community television.
CAN TV is the lens through which Chicago's stories are told, harnessing the unifying power of community television. With CAN TV On Demand, immerse yourself in the richness of our city through exclusive stories and programs tailored just for you. Connecting you to the heartbeats of our streets, the voices of our people, and the spirit that makes Chicago unique. Discover the strength of your community on CAN TV On Demand.
Here to share his thoughts on a strange, revealing moment on the streets of Minneapolis is CAN TV's Executive Director, Darius Hillman.
We live in a time when we are encouraged, even rewarded, for sorting people quickly into boxes. Friend or enemy, us or them, good or bad, black or white, conservative or progressive. And yet, every so often, a moment breaks through that tidy thinking of ours and forces us to confront how shallow these judgments really are. That moment happened on the streets of Minneapolis recently. During a tense confrontation between anti-ICE protesters and far-right provocateur Jake Lang, chaos erupted. Lang, known for inflammatory rhetoric, found himself isolated, chased, and injured. Neither his allies nor federal agents rushed to his defense. And then something unexpected happened. A black man, someone with no ideological alignment, no political obligation, and every reason to walk away, stepped in and helped Lang escape the crowd and avoid further harm. That single act doesn't excuse Lang's views. It doesn't erase the pain driving protesters into the streets. And it certainly doesn't sanitize the very real abuses tied to federal immigration enforcement. But it does expose the bankruptcy of judging people solely by the color of their skin or the labels we assign to them. We are told constantly that identity determines morality, that empathy belongs to one group, cruelty to another. Minneapolis reminded us how false that story is. Compassion does not wear a uniform. Courage does not have a political party. And humanity cannot be predicted based on someone's race. At a moment when outrage often overwhelms reflection, this quiet act of decency by that black man matters. It tells us that our greatest danger isn't disagreement. It's the certainty that we already know who someone is before they show us. And in a country this divided, that certainly may be the most dangerous illusion of all. I'm Darius Hillman, and that's my opinion.
Got an opinion or a topic you've been wanting to get off your chest? Can TV is the place to do it. Share your opinion with us in 250 words or less. If your submission is selected, we'll invite you to join us on the air to present your perspective to the entire city.
A special programming note. On Thursday, February 12th and Friday, February 13th, Chicago Newsroom 2.0 will present 2 town halls every Chicagoan will want to watch.
On Thursday, February 12th, the 5 leading candidates hoping to be the next U.S. Congressperson from the 2nd District take the stage to present their cases for support.
And on Friday, February 13th, leading candidates vying for the 9th District present their cases to our studio audience and viewers at home.
Now more than ever before, your vote matters, Chicago.
As always, thank you for making time for CAN TV and Chicago Newsroom 2.0 in your busy day.
Until next time, be well and well informed.